It is time for your favorite Android podcast from the crew of blindandroidusers.com. Kick back, enjoy another fine episode from a blindness perspective as we navigate Android. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 118 of the Blind Android Users Podcast. We're recording today on March the 11th, 2023. I'm Warren Carr alongside with my co-hosts. We've got John Dyer in Virginia, Doug Cameron in Canada, Austin Pinto in Mumbai, India, Sally Kunders somewhere hiding in Turkey. I have no clue where he's hiding at. And then we have Fee in London. That's the pretty one. And we've got a couple of great guests today that we'll be introducing, and we're talking about a young developer, the youngest developer I've ever come across, or most especially have ever introduced on our podcast as a guest. And so we have both Uday and his dad. In today's episode, we do not have any announcements. Rather, we have two items that we'll be talking about. We're talking about the spotlight where we have our guests, the guys from India, and then we'll be talking a little bit about the Android 14 developer preview 2 that just dropped in. Guys, let's talk about episode 118. But first, though, let's do some well-being check here. Fidan, the pretty one in London, how are you doing?
Not too bad. Bit of a headache though. Not sure quite why. Might be weather connected. I don't know. I had a very minor operation on one of my fingers yesterday, so it could have been all the excitement, perhaps. But it doesn't hurt. So yeah, that'll be fine very soon. And the weather here is sort of a bit miserable. And yeah, so how am I? I suppose the best, not bad, but a bit meh is probably the most accurate. Looking forward to the weather warming up soon, though.
Good. We hope you feel better soon. And I'm sure that little, work you had on the finger might even have something to do with the headache.
Might do, yeah.
Yeah, it could be. Sally boy, what's up with you?
Well, what's up with me is that it's raining here since early morning, and it's already so wet all around. And we weren't expecting such a big rain, and yeah, it's coming. And apart from that, I'm doing pretty well. We are working for the app. In a couple of days, we will be sending the app to Google Play, and the accessible Android app will be in your fingertips, and you'll be enjoying the content that we have for you. And this is the good news from our side.
Absolutely beautiful. I didn't know that, it rains a lot in Turkey. I'd always thought that, Turkey is like maybe like one of those desert countries, in the Middle East. I think I'm wrong about Turkey.
Yeah, maybe you are. Well, we got surrounded a lot of sea, and yeah, it rains sometimes, it snows. So yeah.
Good. Cam boy, what's going on? Is the snow melting there? Ours is melting, but funny enough, though, it seems like we've been having snow just about every day, even though it doesn't last. But we wake up in the morning, there's this snow on the ground there, and later on, in the afternoon, the sun comes out and it's melting. But it's just an off and on thing, just about every day. We're having that white stuff coming down.
Right. Yeah. Sadly, we're not melting yet. This weekend, they're actually saying we're colder than normal for this time of year. Thankfully, it's not too bad. We're just below freezing, but we're not expecting to see too much melting occurring. Other than that, I'm actually not too bad. Been just, working hard. Got my work event happening next weekend, so it's been a bit of a crazy week, so I'm kind of excited to have a bit of unwind time. I'll actually be in your relative neighborhood on Wednesday there, Warren.
Are you coming to the state of Washington?
Oh, I'm coming just north of you. I'll be in Vancouver for basically almost a week.
Oh, my goodness. Well, give me a call when you get there. Oh, sounds good. Mumbai boy, that's Austin. What's going on?
So here the weather is, I don't know, it just can't make up its own mind. So we just celebrated the festival of Holi. Now for the people of US and other countries, those who don't know what Holi is, it's basically a Hindu festival, but everyone celebrates it. So it is when you throw water and color on everyone. And,
The Festival of Colors. I love it.
The Festival of Colors.
I love it.
So now they have started playing with natural colors. First is to play with paint, literal paint, so the color would not go off for 5-6 days. But now they have started natural colors. But that's not all. So the weather it became hot and then it rained on Holy Day. Actually, it does not rain that at that day or that season. And now the weather is just burning. So I'm sitting in air conditioning and recording, but the weather is just burning. It becomes super hot in the afternoon. Then it cools down a little in the evening, and morning it is pleasant weather. So I would like some Canadian weather in Mumbai especially.
No, you don't want our weather, Austin. You don't want to deal with the snow and the ice and the cold.
Yeah, it's better to deal with the ice and snow rather than the heat.
Well,
you say that now.
The hot weather, Austin, would help, melt down that color. I think if I happen to be there, throw the green on my head. I'd always wanted a green painted hair. So,
Yeah,
throw
but
some green.
it won't be painted much unless you can just rub it off and it will just disappear.
We
Good.
actually had some snow on Wednesday. It didn't really stay, but and in some parts of England they had some yesterday, and some schools were closed and things because we're not very good at coping with snow in the UK.
No, you guys don't know how to
You guys don't
drive
get snow.
No, we're not very good.
Yeah, no, you hardly get snow. John Boy, what's going on in Virginia?
It's good here in Virginia. Just a typical week for me. It's probably been in the 50s, but the sun is shining, so all is well.
John, you got a new headset, and you and I were testing it out. Is that what you're using for the episode?
Yeah, it's a Turtle Beach headset, and it's got a pretty good Bluetooth connection, so I've been impressed with it. But it was a little pricey, but I'm kind of seeing if I could use it as my do everything headset, and if it passes the test, then I'll keep it.
Good.
So we have a very, very small informal announcement, and there is going to be a surprise for our podcast listeners when they listen to this episode. And none of the podcast crew knows what the surprise will be except one. So do listen to the entire episode and give us your feedback. This is the Spotlight segment, in which we bring you premier interviews from guests, device unboxing, and important news about Android. Stay tuned for this segment and continue listening to the podcast.
We now move on to our next segment, and that would be the Spotlight. And today we have these guys from India, great people joining us and talking about an app. And we are so thankful to be welcoming a father and son. I will be ceding this portion to Austin as we go about talking with these guys. Austin, can you introduce our guests?
So, as Warren said in the introduction, we have two wonderful guests in our virtual studio. One is Ravi Kumar and his son Uday Shankar from this wonderful company called Eurotech from India. So, Uday Shankar Kumar is the youngest developer we have ever had on the podcast. So Warren can take it from this part.
Thank you so much, Austin. And you guys, we welcome you to our podcast. Dad, let's begin with you. And the important thing here is that we have both of these guys, father and son, and the son is actually the one in the driver's seat. But we just want the dad, who is a great support to his kid, to kind of give us a little background on how this all got started.
Thank you all. I mean, it's a great honor coming over here and telling you about our work. And we have seen how you people are, working for popularizing the apps that's on the Android platform and all that. So thanks again, all of you. As for the answer to your question, we were like, when I'm a dentist, I practice orthodontics. So I took my kid, Uday Shankar, to my clinic once just to show him what I'm doing. And that was like when he was 4 years of age. And he said, I was, you know what we do, dentists. So he said, he was saying like, what, Dad? What are you doing? It's so, I mean, it's gross. What are you doing? Don't even bring me here ever. And that was it. Over, done. So he said I understood that he is not interested in anything related to medicine, dentistry, So then it all came out slowly. He went into robotics. He went into Python programming. So I'm not the person. He does everything. So I told him, kid, go ahead. You can do whatever you want. I will provide you for your 3 square meals a day or whatever, and if a roof over your head and a place for you to live. Do not think of anything for your sustenance. Everything I'm providing your lifetime. Don't worry. Enough for you. So you are free from that. Go ahead. Do something which will help you and all the people in the world. Maybe not all the people, that's impossible maybe, but at least there's a saying like Wittgenstein in his famous book is that if you can change one person, if you can improve the lot of one person, you have changed the world. So this is what I gave my advice to my kid, and he's trying to do his best. I don't know. So I mean, I don't know anything about what he's doing. You people said that he's doing something good. Oh, thank you very much. Hope you will support him for all his this thing, whatever he's doing, and that's all from me. Thank you, guys.
Well, Dad, thank you so much. Because, to be honest, the kid didn't want to go down the road that you have chosen. And, he doesn't want to be a dentist. And we just want to say, he chose the right path, in my opinion, because he's doing something that helps those of us who are blind. If there's anything that we have a problem with, most especially those of us who are blind, it's a few things, especially when it comes to navigation and especially inside buildings and all of that. And this is what the focus of this app is. And the app we're talking about today, for which we have the young man, is that 3RDI, or third, I call it just 3RDI. He will tell us what it is properly called. But and to be able to find our way in a building and all of that, that's one of the most important things, because there are some of us that would like to be able to go to places on our own, or even like when I go to a hotel or whatever and things like that. It could be a problem trying to find a way around. And so apps like this make it important for us. And so to see you being supportive of a kid who didn't choose your path but chose his own, and most especially when you encourage him by saying, do whatever you can or whatever you wanted to do as for your meals and a bed and all of that. Dad's taking care of that. I think that's encouraging. And so we are thankful to you for being there for young Uday. Now, Uday, let's get to talk to you now. You are a 14-year-old kid, and, in the States here, you'll still be in high school. Probably that would be maybe like your freshman year or something along. My daughter's 15. And actually, she's still in is my daughter in I think this is her second year. I don't remember. Can you believe I don't know what grade my daughter is in? I think she's in ninth grade. Because she's in ninth grade. So she's 15 and she's just completing her first year in high school. And I imagine that in India, you guys usually are farther ahead of us. You probably be in your second year in secondary school or something like that. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Uday, before we get to your work.
Yeah, hi. Thank you very much for the kind words. And so basically, what happened was, because my dad told, right. I was really interested in robotics, and then I got into Python. And what happened was I got into game development with Unity. So one day, my principal at our school, Nanda Public School here in Kerala, asked me, could you do something useful with this, right, other than just making games? So I remember the time we went to the Louvre in France. They had Nintendo DS game consoles for navigation. Like, it tells you about the paintings and all that. So I thought, why couldn't you have something like this in your mobile phone, which could help a visually impaired person navigate, right? So that's how I got the idea for it. And I refined and also found out that a lot of the, I think all of the available navigation apps, I don't think they have obstacle detection. So I added that and refined the idea a bit more. Yeah, that's how I got the concept of third eye. Right now, it's the prototype proof of concept. It's done, it's finished, and it's in the testing validation stage. So we just have to test this in real world situations.
So tell us, though, Uday, you're still in high school, right? You're still in secondary school, right?
Yeah, I'm in 8th standard.
He's in the middle school, yeah.
Yeah, so basically, it's like here, because when my daughter was 14 last year, she was in the middle school. I mean, she started high school in the fall, and then she turned 15 at the close of December of last year. So that seems like you guys have the same system that we have here in the States. You'll have to graduate by 18 unless something else happens. But so it's nice to know that you're in middle school and here you are developing things and talking about language that I have no clue, Python and all of that. I don't think I even know how to write my name, let alone do something like this in a technical way. But so it's absolutely beautiful to see that you have the passion, and most especially your passion is intended toward making the world better for those of us who are blind. And so an old papa like me is going to be so forever thankful to you for taking this initiative to make such an app that would be helpful to all of us who are blind. My next question, before I let others talk, because I don't want to take the whole time. I know it's late there in India. Now, so you have given us a little bit of history, how you got started, how you went to France and all of that, and how you saw the need that we need something like that, especially on our mobile phones. Now, tell us, are you yourself blind?
No.
Now, tell me, why did you decide to do something for blind people? Do you know of any blind persons around you? Or how did you come about having this compassion for people like me who are blind?
I mean, I don't know any blind persons personally, but I've seen videos on YouTube in cities like Delhi, our capital, where they're showing that it's very hard for these blind people to navigate these spaces. So that's how I got inspired to build the app.
Absolutely wonderful. And frankly, I am so proud of you. If I have another kid that I'm adopting, it will have to be you. So here I am, a papa of yours here. Papa, so two of us papas here.
I know.
Yes.
I'm not give up. I will not give him up.
So I am, to be honest, I'm so proud of this kid because he's got such a compassion, and I see that you're going to be doing a lot of wonderful things for us, and I'm so thankful to see someone having the initiative this young, because most people, usually developers, most of them don't even care about us. You ask about accessibility, and they'll tell you, "Oh, this is not for the blind," or whatever. And it takes a lot of cajoling to see them make things accessible to us. But with your initiative of thinking of us, we're not an afterthought. And so I am so thankful. Thank you so much, Uday, for doing this.
So I actually found that, the talkback feature on Android, these game engines that people make games on, they do not have support for these kinds of accessibility features built in. So that's also a big problem. It is true that what you said.
Yeah, that's true. Talkback, there's actually very few accessible games on Android, and I think that's part of the reason why. But I had a question for you. Why Android? And are you also developing for iOS, or are you starting with Android? Because most developers seem to always go for iOS first, and then Android is always an afterthought for them. So I'm just curious what your plans are for the app and why you've chosen Android.
Well, because I use a Windows PC, so it's like really hard to get into iOS development because you need a Mac. So, and of course, my family uses Android phones. So it was easier for me to get into first PC development and then Android development. Yeah, we do plan to expand to iOS in the future, but it's because it's more costly here because you need a Mac, and then there's like $100 per year payment for Apple developers, and for Google it's just $25 one-time payment. So it's much easier to get into Android here.
Okay, cool. And yeah, don't feel like you have to rush into helping those people on iPhones and iOS. Just focus on us for now.
And I do want to echo John's sentiment here because too often the guys that develop for the other side, for the other aisle, don't even give a rat about us. And so, boy, I'm so proud of you, man. Keep the Android thing going because it is hugely important. And we want something that we are going to be bragging about. And so keep that fire going on and keep the Android development going on.
Here in India, especially, I think we have way more Android users than iOS users because here the iPhone is more costly. So that's another reason why I did Android development.
I have a question. You were talking about that it would tell you when there were obstacles in the way. How does it do that? I don't mean in terms of the the Python commands. I mean, how does the phone know? Like, do you have to use the camera or something? Or, what's the how does it know? How does it know there's an obstacle?
So, in other words, Uday, now you tell us about the app and what it is intended to do. So, this is your time now to tell us about what 3RDI does and what it entails, what it needs in order for that, what I call the Haitian magic, to happen?
So basically, it's a third eye for all. So it's like a third eye for the users. It helps them navigate these places, right? So basically, yeah, there's a thing called AR Core, which is what lets me do the AR stuff for the app. So it uses the camera for estimating the depth, or if your phone has a 3D depth camera or LiDAR or any other sensors like that, it'll take that into account also. So here we have used the Galaxy S10, Samsung Galaxy S10 5G for testing. That does have a depth camera, they call it, which leads to more accurate obstacle detection. We also have a Pixel 3a, which we use for testing, and that doesn't have a extra sensor for this, so it's not very accurate for that. And well, basically the app uses AR Core features to create paths. The app doesn't create the path. A person has to go and scan these areas. So, for example, a metro station or shopping mall, they have to scan these areas with these paths. It's more like mapping an area. So you have all the paths, and they can also enter description to the path. So it can also describe the environment to you. So, for example, if you're in front of an elevator, it will tell you the buttons to call the elevator are at your left or right at so and so height, like that. So it has the virtual paths uploaded to cloud, which have been mapped by a person, and then that's just simply downloaded by the app at runtime.
So it uses the camera indoors. Does it use GPS at all anywhere, or is it entirely the camera that you're using here?
It uses both, because it uses GPS to get the location, your location, and then it downloads the data uploaded to the cloud. And then it uses AR Core's AR Core to detect these paths, and it uses a camera for that, of course, and the sensors like the accelerometer, all that stuff. So yeah, it uses both the camera and GPS.
Oh, okay. Does it use any other things like Bluetooth, or does it just use TalkBack to tell you where you are, or does it have its own speech synthesizer, or how does it tell you, for example, where the buttons on the lift are? Do you use TalkBack for that?
Yeah, again, as I said, the problem is these game engines, which are basically, you can imagine it as a car engine, which the app runs on, that does not support TalkBack and all these accessibility features. So it's mostly just people on platforms like GitHub who do it for free, and the engine does not have any native support for this. So the app uses a plugin which uses the Google Voice to communicate with the user.
Okay.
And of course, it uses Wi-Fi or data to download the data which has been uploaded to the servers.
Okay.
So, Uday, in other words, what you're saying is that when I launch this app, I need to suspend TalkBack because the app is going to be self-voicing. Am I correct in that understanding?
Yes, the app in the closed beta version of the app, it actually tells you if it detects TalkBack has been enabled, it asks you to switch it off, because again, sadly, Unity does not support it.
Yeah, so TalkBack can't work with this because they sort of cancel each other out somehow, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes
Now
sense.
let's talk about the mapping. So does the mapping take place in the app, for example? So you've indicated, though, that in order for it to work properly, one would need to turn TalkBack off. And so I'm imagining that during the process of the mapping, one would have to launch the app, so someone who is sighted, for example, would go in there, since TalkBack is not going to be running or whatever, would have to go in there and map the area before I can use it as a blind person. So, am I correct in that thinking? So, for example, let's say I go to a hotel here. Let's say a very cheap hotel. Let's say I go to a Motel 6 or something that crazy, and someone has mapped that using this app. And I, as a blind person, go in there. If I launch that app, would it automatically detect that, this place supports or has been mapped and I can now find my way around? But it has to be done by someone who's sighted, right?
Yes, so the idea is that this would be done by the owners of these facilities, or like, their employees, right?
But when I go in there, my app would automatically shake hands with what's already in place and be able to give me the guidance that I need in navigating my way around this building, right?
Exactly.
Great.
But you know what has happened when you depend on owners to do something? That time, most of the owners, they don't cooperate, because in India, some years back, there was a petition to make the Zomato. And for those of you who don't know what Zomato is, it's a food ordering service which also delivers your groceries, to make the Zomato menus accessible, and it's still not done. So if you leave something to be done by the owners, then mostly they don't cooperate. So I think there should be some other way also of doing it, by which we can do it somehow or something.
I mean, the main problem the app faces when it's running is knowing your position, right? Because GPS is not very accurate. That's a problem. So a GPS has 20 meters accuracy on average. So we need an accurate way of knowing the user's position. So that's why it uses AR core. And of course, these paths are needed to, guide the user to their destination. So, I mean, maybe we will be able to find a way where it could automatically find these paths and generate these paths in the future. But right now, what we have tried is it has to be mapped from the beginning.
Now let's talk about cost and all of that, because when it all said and done, usually it all boils down to what I call moolah, money. And so, is this app in its current state is still in beta? Is it free, or are you intending on finding a way of monetizing it, maybe like an in-app purchase or something of that sort? Or what are your plans? Or is this a school project that you might abandon shortly after, or is it something you want to continue? Because I've seen a few of these type of things come from high school students, and I'm looking at an app here that I have. It's called iHello. It was a navigational app from some young lady I got to talk with, and she did that for her school project, final year school project at high school. And when she went to college, it just got abandoned. What are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, so my dad, he set up a company for me. That's the Eurotech company. So we are developing this as a company. So this will be developed till it's completely finished. All the kinks are ironed out. And yeah, so our what we are planning is this will be completely free for the public. The app will be free for the public, but it will cost some money for the facilities, because we have to maintain the servers or pay the servers and all that stuff.
So maybe in that app, you might have a place for people to donate when it finally becomes available. It's totally up to you. But I can see the need of having some donation in there as an incentive, and a lot of people would be able to donate that way, whatever they want to donate, because that then would help you when you get older and are allowed to drink coffee. Someone could get you a little donation to buy some coffee or something like that. So I think it's something that may be important to think about integrating a way of people to making donations.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea too. We might have that in the future versions of the app. So thanks for your input.
I'm wondering how you would persuade facilities to donate, because quite honestly, a lot of places are actually not that bothered about how accessible their premises would be. Their argument would be, well, haven't you got someone who can come with you? Which makes me very angry. I much prefer your approach, making an app so we can go places ourselves. And I wonder how are you going to persuade them to do that?
We plan to take this to the government. That's the organization which can help us all out here, and then you have these large airport transportation stations, so they can we call the corporate social responsibility schemes for the companies are supposed to profit on social responsibility things. So they can invest. It's good for them. Through that, we have that for in the US countries, we have this thing also in social responsibility things. So from there, because Washington Metro, I think, is going to be the first accessible for the visually impaired through Waymap. But the problem with Waymap that it doesn't have obstacles yet included. So the business part, we will try to make this as painless to people who need this, and getting the app as estimate method with business is also part of that is also part of patent. So
That sounds really good.
Like Fee says, sometimes we don't always necessarily need someone to go with us to places, and most especially when it's not the time that they want to go with you. I had a friend of mine, God bless him, passed away some years ago. He used to say that blind people have the wait problem, because when you ask someone to help you with someone, they tell you to wait, and it gets very frustrating, and so you can't get things at the time that you want to. So in these days, when one could call something like Uber or Lyft to take you to a place, I could just have them drop me off and at the door, and I should be able to find my way around the building. So this is definitely a very good thing that would be useful to many of us and gives us that independence that we crave for, most especially when it comes to wanting to do things for ourselves. So I see this as a win-win situation for those of us who are blind.
I have a question, slightly more technical, which is at the moment I don't have any apps that will detect obstacles. What you're doing sounds like a new, even better system. But a problem I have when I go into there are some shopping centres, certainly in London and bigger cities, and they have multiple floors. So if you're downstairs, you're in one shop, and if you're upstairs, you may be in the same shop if it's a big one, but you might be in a different one if it's you know if it's a smaller shop. Upstairs might be another one, another company. And so your phone, I'm thinking, might get a bit confused if you can get GPS at all because you're indoors. Do you have ways around that yet, or is this a problem that still needs to be solved? Because often when I'm inside a shopping centre, even a smaller one that's on one floor, once I go under the roof when it's not a glass roof anymore, I just get nonsense on my GPS navigation because I'm not outdoors anymore.
So right now, the places where we are tested, we are getting good enough GPS to get the address of where the user is currently. Some places we went to, we couldn't get the address at all. So that is a problem. But again, we are only using GPS once in the app, and that's when you open the app. And after that, it uses a camera for visual positioning system. That's what the paths use.
I'm really looking forward to trying it at some point. I guess you'll probably be doing stuff in India first, though, won't you? Because that's where you're based. So, but one day when it comes to the UK, that sounds like it's going to be very exciting.
Right now, actually, anybody can try it. It's on the Google Play Store. Actually, the thing is, the version on the Google Play Store is the public version, and it's very outdated. But we do have a closed beta testing system where you can join and try all these apps, all the new features.
But if it hasn't been mapped yet, how would it help me at the moment?
Yeah, that's the problem. So you might need the you might need the help of another person for scanning.
So can people like if I had a sighted friend, could they help me to do that, or does it have to be like somebody from a company or something?
No, anybody can do it. I mean, anyone in the closed testing, right? In the beta closed testing.
So if there's a company that's not going to map their own building, could I go in there with somebody, have them help me map it? And if I save that map data, will that then apply to anybody else who goes in that same building in the future?
Then for that case, I think the donations will come in handy. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure that it wasn't completely dependent on the company needing to cooperate. So that is good that I could map anything I want to, and then from that point on, that would be available to anybody else.
So the way I'm understanding, though, is that companies or superstores or whatever can help do the mapping, but also one as an individual, someone. If I go there shopping, let's say I go there with my wife, for example, I go to maybe a mall here or some store. Let's say I go to some silly store like Gap's, for example, and I could say, hey, you know what, hon, let's go ahead and map this. So we'll walk from aisle to aisle and all of that. And we should be able to do that because I don't see any company that, or, businesses, especially like, shopping stores that are going to prohibit the use of the camera because, we always scan things to check prices against other places anyway. So I think that with this, one could map the place as an individual and shows where the bathroom is and things like that, so that next time when someone who is blind comes around, happens to have the app and they open that app, it will show that this location has been mapped. But going back to what Fee was saying and about GPS, in my thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong, but my thinking is that if a building has been mapped or an inside of a building has been mapped, for example, if I come to the door of that building and I fire up the app, it should be able to just download what has been mapped, because those mappings get updated to the cloud anyway. So the app should be intelligent enough to know that the inside of this building has been mapped, and therefore, as I come near the door, it should be able to automatically download the data for that building, as long as I open that app within the doors of that building to make sure I have connectivity. So in the event that there's no connectivity inside, as long as those data or that data is downloaded, I should be fine, and there would be no need for internet connectivity. At this point, I'm thinking even maybe in an airplane mode, it might even work since it has the data downloaded. Am I correct in that thinking?
So the reason we require GPS is that when you have multiple scans, I mean, when you have multiple buildings which have been scanned or mapped or whatever, the app would have to know which one to download, right? So that's why we require the GPS, because when we save the data to the cloud, the ID, you could say, of that data is associated with the address of the building or facility. So that's the reason we need GPS.
As it is right now, if one goes to a place that has it, one should be able to download it, provided you have internet connectivity, and then one should be good to go. Right, Uday?
Yeah, so right now you need internet connectivity, GPS, and so you need internet and GPS.
And the camera.
I mean, yeah, most phones have a camera.
Yeah, but that's what you have to, because when you first open an app, it asks you to allow those things to work. So somebody has to allow them for it to work properly, don't they?
Yeah, and another thing is the requirements for this app are somewhat high, because it requires like mid to high-end phones, I think, internationally. Here we are only getting phones, very high-end phones that support this, because of the depth detection or obstacle detection, because in cases where it is estimating the depth, it uses a lot of processing power. So it's usually like good phones like Pixel 3a.
Yeah, it sounds like a really exciting app.
Thank you.
And especially if I can, for example, next time my mum comes over, we could maybe map somewhere, and then I could try it again when she's not around and see how that works. Yeah.
Exactly. Maybe like in an apartment complex, map the walkways and, things like that, if it has an office and stuff like that. So I can see the usefulness of this app in several aspects, several instances that it would come in handy for us. So I am glad that we have that. And so, Uday, I know it's kind of getting late for you and your dad, and we really thank you guys for dropping by to chat with us. And would you be willing to come back, once this thing is out of public beta or closed beta, once you've updated the most current one to the Play Store to where anyone can use it without needing to be in the beta? Would you be willing to come back again at some point when we want you to, so we could talk about it in its new form?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Yeah, we can do that. And I just want to add that, if anyone is willing to help with the mapping, we can tell them, we can take them through the steps that they have to. It's very simple. You don't have to be technical. I have done it. If I can do it, that's what I tell my kid. If I can do it, anyone can do it. So do this. Your sighted friend can initially just take some neighbor's house or some place where you have not gone before, and you can try it there. And then, if confident, you don't even need to go through the facility or the owner of the place or anything. Anyone can go to the mall, map it for you, just like Google does with all the people going around Google Maps. You can do that. And the only issue is, we are spending some money on it. So thank you, Warren, for giving us a great donation. Maybe that will help to cover it up, the cost. That's a great idea.
So, Uday, here's an idea or some suggestion that I have. Maybe you could introduce like a little tutorial. For example, when someone opens the app, then it has a little tutorial that would say, in order for this to work, the floors need to be mapped. And so, have a sighted person or whatever, someone to go in the building and use the scanning feature or map the place. Because right now, when one opens it, though, even though this is outdated, the one that is on the Play Store is outdated. It's not really what is going to be out there. There's no any tutorial. So I think that in the next one that you upload there, that you'll have a little tutorial letting people know what they need to do in order to make it work. Because when I first opened that app, I had no clue as to what it does because there was no tutorial of telling me I needed to have someone to help me map the floor. So it would be very helpful if you have that as an introduction to the app upon launch.
Yeah, good idea.
Yes, so in the closed beta version of the app, it does tell you to disable talkback if it detects that it has been enabled. And regarding the other issues, I've added that to the suggestions list, I guess. And I already have a short documentation tutorial page where it details how someone can scan this area. So I'll put a link to that in the app and have a better tutorial. Right now, the only tutorial it has is just it checks if the location is given and all that, and just tells you to double tap the screen, right?
That's wonderful, because that's what I'm saying. So if you have that URL in there in the app, so when I launch the app, there would be something that learn how to use this app, and it points me to a URL that when I tap on, it'll take me to that page and shows me how to go about mapping. That's what I'm talking about, because right now, in the one that we have that is out there on the Play Store, there's no such a thing. So people are expecting that when they open it up, they're going to be able to navigate and then find out different. So it would be definitely helpful to see that new one in there. So can anyone join? Well, it's a closed beta, really. It's not for everybody. But would there be a way that my podcast crew could beta test this, find that way to join the beta, or can we send you an email or whatever? What do we need to be part of this beta and test it out?
Yeah, all we need is you can just email us with your so basically, because this is Google Play Store, you need a Gmail account. So you can just send us your Gmail account which you want the close testing to be part of, and then we'll send a link which will just say do you want to join close testing, and after you join it'll just say if you already have the app installed, you'll receive an update in a few hours. I think, Mr. Warren, I think I've added you to the close testing.
Good, because I had requested that. And is this also open to, let's say, some of our listeners? I know it's not everybody that's going to be joining, but there's some like me that would like to join who are our listeners. Would they also be allowed to join the closed beta? Let's say people that want to help in beta testing this. Would it be okay if they contact you with the email address that you'll give us, which we'll put in the show notes, so that those who are interested in joining the closed beta would join or send you a message to have them added to the beta? Is that something that you are willing to do? So let's say, for example, would you be able to accommodate, say, 20 or 30 people in the beta? Would that be something that you would be able to accommodate? And if so, then people could send you their email addresses. And of course, if the number of people have been reached, then you could just reply letting that person know the beta is closed. You've had enough people for the beta. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah, I mean, we can have a few people, like 10, 20 people testing this. That's not a problem.
Good. So we'll put that email address in there, which is also found within the Play Store page of the app, in the event that someone wants to join the beta. If the beta is still open for people to join, so you can only take so many people in there. So it's like first come, first served thing here. And so that's the kind of basis that's going to be working on. Once you have enough people that you want in the beta, then that beta is closed. And so we appreciate you coming. And again, thank you so much for joining us today. And Dad, thank you so much for encouraging that kid. And frankly, we're looking forward to having you guys back again once this thing goes out of the beta.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And yeah, and thank you. I hope we can do something, and hope he can do something.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
I mean, thank you. It's not a problem. I mean, it's a great thing that you're doing. It's great work, and it's, enabling more people to use these smartphones. They're basically supercomputers that you can hold in your hand. So it's great that more people can get access to that and improve their lives with it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. It's nice meeting you guys.
Thank you.
This is the Spotlight segment, in which we bring you premier interviews from guests, device unboxing, and important news about Android. Stay tuned for this segment and continue listening to the podcast.
Up next, we're talking about Android 14 Developer Preview 2, which dropped on Wednesday. That was the 8th of this month. I have installed it. And though there are some changes and all of that, but for some reason, I'm having some difficulty with mine, in the sense that every time I shut down my phone and it comes back up, then I have an error that says com.android.qns has stopped. And it doesn't matter what I do. I mean, I have even reset the phone twice. And now I talked to Austin. Austin is not seeing that at his end, but this is on my Pixel 7 Pro. But that's the only problem that I'm having with this build. For some reason, I didn't have that happening with the first developer build, but now I'm seeing that. But I'm hoping that next month, when it opens up to the beta, that the problem may be fixed. let's talk about what has changed and what hasn't. But I think there are a couple of things that are exciting, most especially, or maybe three things. The first one we want to talk about is the flashing of notification. I tested both of those, and this is something that you can set in your accessibility area. You go to the accessibility area and you could turn that on. You have the one that could flash on the screen. So this is all visual for if you're sighted or whatever, you have some sight, so that when a notification comes in, for example, it will flash like yellow. The whole screen could light up like that. Or you could choose to also turn on where the camera light would flash, and I think that would be very helpful for people who are deaf, people that cannot hear anything. I think that would also come in handy. But again, like I said, these things are found in the accessibility settings. So that's the first feature that we want to talk about. John, did you try that, or what are your thoughts about this change?
So, I'll be honest with you. I installed it and I looked to see if they had fixed the bug I reported, and they had not. So I turned it off and put it back in the drawer. But I am glad to hear about the accessibility improvements. Anytime they're continuing to add accessibility features to a phone, I'm happy about it, because that's the first thing I look for when I get a new update to a new version of the OS, is go see what's changed in the accessibility section.
So before I talk about this, I want to talk about the problem that I had. Now this was just a one-time occurrence, but now I'm having another problem. So I installed the beta, I don't remember when, but it was Friday morning and my WhatsApp messages went haywire. They were showing some messages from Thursday and they were showing some messages from Friday morning, and it all happened on the same day, because I remember my friend messaged me on the same day, the notification came in, but when I went into WhatsApp, the time was showing as Thursday. Then in the afternoon, I was in the office and my time was showing 2 a.m. So I don't know what time zone my phone went into. And I did everything. I turned off the automatic time zone setting and turned it back on. Nothing happened. Then I restarted my phone and it fixed it. Now the new problem has started is when someone calls me and my screen is locked and it is not unlocked the screen for many hours, the phone app will just crash. So I think this is more buggy than the developer review one. And now about the flashing notifications. If the screen flashes, it is okay, but I don't think the camera light flashing should be okay, but it will help the people who can't hear. But I think it will consume a lot of battery, and if it just flashes once and turns off, that is okay. But if it flashes many times and your phone is in the pocket, that also will generate a lot of heat, because I've seen cameras that are on generate a lot of heat when the phone is in the pocket.
Well, these things are optional, though. Let's make that clear. They are not things that are turned on by default once you enable that. So once you turn on this or tap on it, you have those two choices. You can choose which one you want. You can choose the screen flashing, and you can even choose whatever color it is that you want it to flash in. For my testing, I chose the yellow color, but it has other colors in there too. And that doesn't mean that turning it on automatically enables the camera mode either. So you have to choose. You can choose both or choose one of those if you want, but choosing one doesn't automatically turn on the other either. I tested both, separately, and it worked as intended.
Yeah, exactly. These are both optional. So if you're a deaf person and it helps you to see that you have a notification, you're not going to be concerned that it might use up some battery. It's worth the trade-off for you if it means you're not going to miss a notification.
Yeah, and it's not like it's going to be doing that continuously, though. It only does that twice and then it stops. So it's just an instant flash to let you know you got something. It's not a continuous thing by any chance of imagination. That's not what it is. So like I said, I tested both, and it's not something that keeps doing that. It does that twice, and that's it.
So I guess, Warren, would when you have it set for a screen flash with your notifications, will it flash the screen if the screen is not actively on?
I would imagine that. Well, I didn't check it with the screen on, the screen off. To be honest, I just I had it while the screen was on because you can preview what it would look like, and then I would imagine that yes, it will flash even when your screen is off, because if I get a notification and I want to know that I have a notification, um, I should know about it. I would imagine that it would be, or when I turn on the screen. But I would like to believe that it will do it when the screen is off. So I cannot be, I'm not sure as to whether or not. So I can't say categorically that it would, but I would like to think that it would.
Yeah, like the one thing I do actually see with this is, even if you find it useful for someone like me who, say, receives a ton of notifications all day, I could actually see this impacting your screen life opposed to your battery in more of a drastic way. I can see your screen actually wearing out much faster than I can see it draining your battery.
But I don't think it's going to be any draining more of your battery than, because in normal circumstances, when notifications come, they'll pop up near the top of your screen anyway. So it's the same. It's the same idea. It's not that this thing is using any whatever more than that. I don't see this as particularly draining any battery, because it's using the same thing that is coming from your notification.
Exactly. And that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, I can see it being more of a drain on your screen's lifespan opposed to a battery drain.
Exactly.
So I think that would be something that, especially for someone like me who's got a lot of notifications, that would be something that I would actually be a little more wary about, because obviously we want to get the most life out of our devices. And if we're going to be wearing out our screens with a notification style, you kind of should maybe look at making that just for the priority notifications, like your calls, your text messages, your WhatsApp, opposed to like your Facebooks, your Twitters, your Instagrams, those kind of apps.
And it is not like when it comes, it's obstructing you seeing what is going on the screen. That's not the case at all.
No.
And even with the LED lighting up for the camera, I can't imagine that uses more battery than like a notification sound being played. It's just
exactly
that split second that it lights up. Yeah.
Like, I know I played around actually with having the camera flash as a notification method for a while, just for the hell of it. And that thing had, I guess that would have been probably a couple of years ago. So I would have been using a A70, and it had a severe impact on battery. But we've got so much better with our phones now that I can't see that being a huge issue at all. I see more impact on your screen lifetime than I can on your battery.
How does it work? Does the whole screen light up? Is that how it works?
It lights up not in the sense that you have a light, but the color, pops up, so it kind of shows whatever color you chose. Like I said, I chose yellow to test it with, and it just, you see this yellow come up, and it doesn't take away what you're looking at, or, what you're reading or whatever, but that lets you know you just got that notification.
So is it more of a different color rather than a flashing light?
Exactly. Exactly. The next one that we have has to do with something that is there, but it's not quite there. It's still buried behind a flag. So it's something that would be coming probably in the beta next month when it's open up for everybody. And this is something that I think is taken from One UI, Samsung, in the sense that, when it comes to filling in your pin, for example, you turn off your phone or shut down your phone and turn it back on, and then it comes and asks for a PIN. If you go enable this to where after I finish putting in my PIN, it should just automatically unlock without me needing to tap the OK. You notice that we have that in Samsung, but you have to enable that in the Samsung PIN area if you want that to happen. I think with Samsung, you can even make it with 4 digits, but with the one from Google, it has to be at least 6 digits before you could enable that feature. So I kind of like that because to be honest, I don't always like this whole idea of, putting in my PIN and then go tap the enter or tap the OK to say, okay, I'm done. Once I, have it done right, then just go ahead and unlock it. So that's another thing that is coming, but right now it's hidden behind a flag. So I imagine that will be next month will become available.
This feature is also available in the OnePlus phones, and I don't know about other OEMs, but at least it was available in the OnePlus 7 and the OnePlus Nord currently, the OnePlus Nord 2. So it is available in those phones.
I think this is actually one of the reasons why I started using Pattern, just because it's faster. Because that was one of the things that annoyed me about putting my PIN in. Is why am I putting my PIN in and then hitting enter? I just want it to unlock as fast as possible. So that's why I switched to the Pattern.
I've never known how to use a pattern. I didn't know you could if you're blind. So maybe we need to have at some stage to do a little demo of how to do that or something.
Tip of the week. Yeah, I can probably do that at some point.
A little tip of the week there for you, John. So that's your homework for next week.
Okay, I'll see if I can throw something together.
Yeah, so we look forward to seeing that next week. Shall we say amen on that one, John? We'll
okay,
say
amen.
that tip of the week next week. Good. The next thing that also is available, but also have to be enabled in the developer mode, and that will be the back gesture, where you could actually see what's going to land, for example. Because I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when let's say I'm on an app, for example, I'm on Chrome, and then a message came through or whatever, and I decide to check that message. And if I hit the back, sometimes I'm taken out of both the messaging app, and my Chrome that was in there is gone. I don't know if that happens to you guys, but I see that happen to me, from time to time. But so Google is doing something to where you will actually see where you're going to go back to, whether it's going to be going back to the app that you are just on, or it's going to go back to the home screen. The only thing, though, is that developers will need to enable that, because right now it's only working with some Google apps, and I think that's a good thing, and I'm looking forward to seeing developers adapting that. That would be really good.
So how would that work? Would it say back to inbox, for example?
Yeah, I haven't tried it to see how it would work, but I'm imagining that those of us that use the screen reader, because we can't see the animation that is showing where it's going to go back to, that we would actually hear talk back saying, going back to inbox or going back to Chrome or something to that effect.
That would be quite handy.
It would be.
But I do have a suspicion that you just press your back button too enthusiastically, Warren, because I don't think that's ever happened to me.
Well, it happens to me, to be honest.
You've got these big, thick, manly fingers, you see. That's what it is.
But Warren uses the swipe gestures.
I use it. Yeah, we're talking about that's the gestures. That's what I'm talking about. And
Can
for
you
me,
remind me and the listeners what the back gesture is? Because some of us just have a back button on the bottom of our phone.
okay, so the back gesture that we're talking about here is to swipe, from the edge, either from the left or right edge of your phone, and you know, and that
Horizontal swipe.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So you swipe from the right edge toward the middle, or from the left edge toward the middle, and it will go back. But if you do a motion, you will see where it is going to land you, and you can still move your fingers back to the edge that you started swiping from, and it will stop from going back. And that's what this one is. So I think for us to check it, we'll do that to see if it will say where I'm going back to and things like that. But when I, like I said, if I swipe right now, as I have it, if I'm in Chrome and messaging comes in, and a lot of times I go back, I'm out of both of them. So that is something that Google is working on. But like I said, so far though, it's only working like with some Google apps like Google News and all of that. So it will depend on developers to implement that, but at least it's something that's going to be there. Besides that, there are some other notification changes and things like that. So next month, though, it's going to be opening up for beta, so that people who are interested would then be able to join the beta. But you know, if you don't have a phone that qualifies, then you would kind of wait till it comes to everybody, you know, sometime in the fall. The lineup, though, is that just like Android 13 came in August, this too will come in August, the final public release.
Imagine if they just got stuck on Android 13 and every single year it was just always called.
Oh, you mean like Windows and Windows 10?
Yeah, they could do that. Windows does that. Yeah.
It'll be their last operating system, and then they'll come up with one more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're all liars.
Or what if
especially
Google
Microsoft.
decided to go back
Actually,
to the
Windows-
Kit Kat
Windows
days
12
and just
is
said, this is
currently-
13.1?
Windows 12 is currently in canary release.
It would have to be 13.1.1. Get it right.
Oh no!
And then
This is getting annoying.
13.1.2. That was
Exactly.
very annoying. That's why Google, you know, we
I much
hated that.
preferred the things like Pi and stuff.
I
You know,
mean, I was all over Kit Kat. Just saying.
You know, Kit Kat was so many different versions. It was not even funny. You know.
I was a great fan of Kit Kat. That's where I walked into Android on. So I'm forever. It's going to be my favorite.
Yeah. Maybe you like eating that Kit Kat too.
I mean,
Yeah, I
have you
ate
guys
Kit
seen the
Kats.
flavors
I
of
didn't
Kit
use
Kat
Kit
you
Kat.
can get in Japan?
what?
Take a look at the flavors of Kit Kat chocolate bars you can get in Japan.
Like what? Like wasabi or something?
Oh,
Oh, no.
there's so many,
Oh,
they
no.
will blow your mind.
I wouldn't want that. That
Oh,
thing
I-
goes
That
to
would
your
be
head.
weird.
Yeah, I agree.
I would try it just once.
Another important thing here is that the photo picker, for example, has been revamped to where actually you can have apps not accessing that, so you can say, you know, block and never allow, or you know, so it boils down to that permission where apps could access your files or photos and stuff like that. It's not going to be, you have final control in the sense that you can tell them, you can block them, don't even access it. And another thing that Google is doing that I like is going to be about all the snake oil that people have been selling us for years now. It has to do with, you know, RAM boosters, you know, speeding up your phone, blah, blah, blah. All that nonsense is going to be killed in Android 14 because Google succinctly puts it out there. It doesn't do anything. Those are just actually wastes your resources and only hard on your device. So that snake oil is going to be gone. So if you've been buying, you know, RAM boosters or speeding my phone or background killers, forget it.
About time.
I say amen. Yeah, it's time. You know, the snake oil was back in the 1800s. We should be done with that a long time ago. So,
I agree. I'm sorry. The only way to boost your RAM is by either legitimized VRAM or getting higher RAM chips in the phone.
Exactly. And Google says Android is intelligent enough. It bases it on the cache. And when there's too much, then it will automatically know how to handle it. So the snake oil now can only do it to itself, but not other apps. So if you still want to use that snake oil, you can use it, but just know that it's not going to work on other apps because all it did was, just kill the process. But then when you restart the phone, it's back again, and then it goes through the same circle again, actually putting a lot of stress on your phone. Snake oil gone.
I wonder how many of those apps are actually malware.
I agree. I never, really cared about those type of apps. I'd never used those.
I thought that Google Play, I thought the store vetted the apps. So how are people even getting them? Why are they even there?
Thank you, Fee. And Fee, that's one. Google is going to deny those apps on the Play Store. They're sending a message to developers. Those apps are not going to be allowed anymore. So good thing you mentioned that. Yes.
Can I just check? Because you said this is it's going to be a beta next month. So what's this version you've got now then?
DP2, Developer 2.
So this is a version normally used just by developers rather than members of the public. Okay.
Yes.
Your public betas generally will come out in March, April. Your developer betas generally will start coming out like January, February.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, no, the developer preview always come out in February. We've never had it in January. Actually, in years past, it's usually like in March, but with Android 13, it actually came out in February. And so we had more, or was it Android 11? One of those, we had like maybe 4 developer previews. But with Android 13 last year, we had 2 developer previews, February, March, and then April came the first beta. And the same thing is happening this year. So this is the last developer preview that we have for Android 14. And next month in April will be the very first beta that anyone can join if they wanted to. So we'll have like April first beta, second one in May, third one in June, fourth one in July, and final release in August. So 4 betas and 2 developer previews. Well, that would conclude today's episode. And Austin's standing by to give you information on how to go about contacting us. Austin?
So people to locate us, they can email us with their questions or feedback or comments or recording submissions to contact us at blindandroidusers.com. They can browse our website, blindandroidusers.com. Check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/blindandroidusers. Subscribe to our mailing list, Blind Android Users, plus subscribe at groups.io. The links for Telegram and Twitter, Clubhouse will be in the show notes with all the other links. So that is it from us this week.
And folks, this concludes this week's episode. From me, it's goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Cam, say bye to the people.
I'm finally able to unmute. My cat stepped on the keyboard. So bye.
That's beautiful. Thanks for listening to another clip from the Blind Android Users channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you're notified of every new material that we upload. Thanks again for listening to the Blind Android Users channel.